The story goes like this. Taured, Haneda Airport, July 1954. A well-dressed European in a good suit slides his passport across the immigration desk the way, he says, he has done a dozen times before. The officer opens it. Photograph, fine. Stamps, fine. Visas from real countries, fine. Everything is in order except for one word, printed where the name of the country goes. Taured.
There is no Taured. I checked the list twice. I check it 3 times. And the man across the counter is getting impatient because from where he is standing, I am the one who is confused.
They bring him a map. He puts his finger on the mountains between France and Spain and says, "That is my country, and it has been there 1,000 years." 24 hours later he is gone out of a guarded hotel room on an upper floor with no way down. And so are all of his documents. This is the man from Taured, the internet's favorite parallel universe story. And this is not a video about whether he slipped in from another world. It is about something better, where a story like this actually comes from, and why it beat every real mystery on the timeline. So let's be blunt right at the top, because it changes how you watch the next 10 minutes. There is no 1954 newspaper article, no immigration record, no named officer, no named hotel, no case file, and nobody even claims the file was sealed or destroyed in more than 40 years of retelling. Not one contemporaneous document has ever been produced. Which honestly makes it a better mystery, not a worse one. The question stops being what happened to him and becomes, who built this, when, and why does it work so well on us? Here's the legend in its fullest form, because the details are the interesting part. He arrives on a scheduled flight. European, well-off, a businessman. Most versions have him speaking fluent French, plus Japanese, plus a couple of other languages. He has been to Japan before. His passport looks completely right. Correct size, correct wearer. Previous Japanese entry stamps, visas from countries that definitely exist. The only wrong thing in the entire document is the nation that issued it. They open his briefcase. A driving license from Taured. A checkbook drawn on a bank nobody can find. Currency from several European countries. Business papers naming a company that cannot be traced. Everything inside is consistent with everything else. Nothing inside is consistent with the world.
And that, for me, is the trick that makes it sing. He is not raving. He is not claiming anything supernatural. He is a mildly irritated commercial traveler who thinks the office has made a clerical error. Which, frankly, is exactly how you or I would behave.
In the map, he taps the Pyrenees, the mountain border between France and Spain, right on the little patch where Andorra sits. That is us, he says. Taured, 1,000 years old. Why is your map wrong? In some retellings, he even says the word Andorra out loud and insists that name is the mistake. They hold him overnight in a hotel near the airport. Guards outside the door. Upper floor, no balcony, a window over a sheer drop. In the morning the room is empty, the door was never opened, and back at the airport, the passport and the papers are missing from the security office too. That is the whole thing. And it is beautifully engineered. No monster, no spaceship, no glowing portal. Just a rubber stamp, a locked door, and a country that is not there. So follow it backwards. Every modern telling, every short video, every listicle cites an earlier internet post which cites an earlier internet post, and researchers who have tried to trace it say those threads all run into the same wall. One paperback. The Directory of Possibilities, published in 1981, edited by Colin Wilson and John Grant. A British survey of the unexplained, arranged by subject. Tucked inside it is the man with the passport from Taured, and that is the earliest telling anybody has managed to put their hands on. Colin Wilson was a genuine literary name, famous at 24 for a book called The Outsider, who then spent decades turning out volume after volume on the occult and the unexplained. His co-editor, John Grant was the pen name of Paul Barnett, who later wrote a whole shelf of books about bad science and how it spreads. And the book does what these books do. It tells the story. It does not give you a newspaper, a checkable date, an officer's name, or an airline. There is no footnote to follow. The chain of evidence starts and ends at "a book said so."
Here is what I would want you to notice. Japan in 1954 had a busy, competitive press, and Haneda was the nation's showcase international airport. A man with an impossible passport is exactly the kind of story a newspaper prints. And a foreigner vanishing out of custody. That is not an oddity. That is a scandal, and scandals leave paper.
Now the fair counterargument, and it is genuinely fair. Absence of a clipping is not proof of absence. Japanese archives from 1954 are not all digitized, and almost none of it is searchable in English. A small immigration curiosity could slip through the net. Except the story as told is not small. Detained by officials. Documents confiscated. Guards posted. In a locked room. A disappearance. Confiscated evidence that also disappears. Every single element that would generate a piece of paper is in there, and not one of those pieces of paper exists. And here is the detail that settles it for me. This story keeps growing. Line the versions up across 4 decades, and you can watch the furniture arrive the year drifting between 1954 and 1959, the floor number, the guards, the vanishing documents. That is backwards from how evidence behaves. Records get thinner as they are copied. Legends get thicker because every teller improves them. Now the part I actually love, because there is a real country hiding inside the fake one. Look at what the man describes. A tiny nation in the mountains between France and Spain, older than most of Europe, that the outside world barely acknowledges. That place exists. It is called Andorra. Andorra is about 180 square miles, smaller than most cities, with a population around 80,000. Since 1278 it has been ruled jointly by 2 co-princes today, the President of France and a Spanish bishop. Its national anthem opens by crediting Charlemagne, which puts its founding legend at, yes, roughly 1,000 years and change. And it really was semi-invisible. Andorra had no written constitution until 1993, and 1993 is also the year it joined the United Nations. For most of the 20th century, it was a real functioning country that plenty of official systems simply had no box for. So the man from Taured is not describing an impossible place. He is describing a real one with the serial numbers fell off, which is precisely what a well-made, invented country looks like, and it is a strong hint about how this story was put together. 4 explanations get argued about. Let's take each one at its strongest, and then break it. 1. It happened, and he stepped in from a neighboring universe. In its favor, many worlds is not fringe physics. Hugh Everett laid it out in 1957, 3 years after this story is supposedly set, and serious people take it seriously. What breaks it? In Everett's picture, the branches do not touch. You cannot walk between them, and there is no evidence here to explain in the first place. 2. Something real happened and got mangled in the retelling. Airports detain confused travelers with strange paperwork every single day, and Andorra genuinely does baffle border staff. What breaks it? Even the boring version left no trace, and the vanishing is the load-bearing beam of this story. Boring versions do not vanish. 3. Cold War intelligence. It is 1954, it is Tokyo, and forged travel documents are absolutely everywhere. A bad forgery naming a country that does not exist is a very plausible way to get pulled out of a queue, and a spy has excellent reasons to leave a hotel room quietly. What breaks it? A competent forger picks a country that is on the map, and still no record. 4, and this is where I land. Somebody made it up, and it got loose. In favor, no source, a first appearance in a paranormal paperback, the exact shape of a classic vanishing legend, and 40 years of accumulating detail. What breaks it? We cannot name the inventor. The trail simply stops in 1981. But here is what genuinely deserves your attention, because it is true and it is stranger than the legend. People really do travel on passports from countries that a large chunk of the world insists do not exist. Kosovo declared independence in 2008. Around 100 of the world's governments recognize it. The rest do not. Same passport, same person, a valid travel document at one desk and a decorated booklet at the next. Northern Cyprus declared itself a state in 1983 and is recognized by exactly one country. And Taiwanese passports are accepted almost everywhere by governments that officially maintain Taiwan is not a country.
My favorite is the Sovereign Military Order of Malta. Essentially no territory. A few hundred passports in circulation. Diplomatic relations with more than 100 states. It is a nation that is basically an idea with letterhead, and it works because enough people agreed that it works. Which, if you think about it, is how all of them work.
And people really do get erased by paperwork. Mayor Karani Nasri, whose refugee papers, by his own account, went missing, ended up living inside Terminal 1 at Charles de Gaulle Airport from 1988 to 2006, unable to legally enter France and unable to legally leave. He later returned to the airport and he died there in 2022. Or the man found unconscious behind a Georgia restaurant in 2004 with no memory and no identification. He called himself Benjamin Kyle. For 11 years he was, functionally, a citizen of nowhere until DNA genealogy handed him a name back in 2015. No parallel universe required, just a missing document. Which points at what this legend is actually about. In 1954 there was no network database at a passport desk. There was a book, a stamp, and a tired human being. A passport nobody could verify was not a rip. In reality, it was a Tuesday. The story only feels impossible to us because we live inside the machine that would catch him. So, the honest scoreboard. Documented, nothing at all. Not the man, not the flight, not the officer, not the hotel. Traced, the story itself, back to one 1981 paperback that names no source. Real, and/or contested passports, and people genuinely trapped by their own paperwork. Unknown, and probably permanently, who wrote version 1. And I think that is why this one won. Every other mystery asks you to believe in something extra, a monster, a conspiracy, a machine. Taured only asks you to believe in a filing error. The horror is not out there in the dark. It is the desk looking up and saying your country does not exist, and you realizing that you cannot prove it does. Missed our last one. Christmas Eve, 1945. A West Virginia house burns down. 5 of the children inside are never found. No remains turn up in the ashes, and their father spends the rest of his life renting a billboard asking why. The Solder children. Cards on screen. Next time, the lost cosmonauts. The claim that the Soviet Union put men into space before Gagarin and quietly lost them and 2 Italian brothers in a converted bunker who said they recorded the dying transmissions. Check the map. Check the archive. And if a desk ever tells you your country does not exist, ask for the file and subscribe.